everyone. From me, Brent Graham, it's Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, we got a bumper show ahead of us as one of my guests just disappears as I do the intro. I must have said something to offend the Oracle there. He's gone. But at that moment, I see another guest just popping into the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to bring him in there. But first of all, welcome to everyone watching the show live, to all the boys in the live chat. Look forward to your contributions. We're going to be talking Rugby Championship. We're going to be talking URC. And then at the end of the show, the conductor will hang around with us and talk a bit of NPC as well. Big news, we're not talking Gallagher Premiership. We're going to do a live show tomorrow, 1:30 South African time. That's after team selection, so we can get a real feel for the handicaps. And we're going to have the conductor and at UK Rugby Bets on the show there, Alex, as well. So looking forward to that. Welcome to all the boys who have arrived. Let me start by the top of the screen. And welcome, Harry. Harry, great trip to Australia. You kept us thoroughly entertained on Twitter with some of your posts there. And also the articles and interviews and that around the games. It must have been a great experience over there.
No, it's brilliant. Anyone who's gone to Australia will know that it's a fun-loving place. The party never stops. It's like kind of this feeling of safety and danger at the same time. The drinks flowing and everyone's up for a good time. Half of Australia has no idea about rugby. So even if you're in Adelaide, no one even knows it's a test match. So you're explaining people what rugby is. But I got to see some grassroots rugby as well, and it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Excellent. So good to hear. And I look forward to your comments on this weekend's fixtures, which certainly look interesting. Let's bring the Oracle in there now, because I see he's popped on. Oracle, you disappeared there. Was that just a connection issue?
I think you switched me off.
I hope not.
How's it, guys? I'm just very interested to hear Harry say you feel safe in Australia. I haven't been there yet. I've been warned that I'll be arrested within 10 days of being in Australia because I just don't follow rules and all that sort of thing. So I'm surprised you made it a couple of weeks. Well done.
There's like 2 cops in the whole town. They're on horses. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, I can vouch for Oracle breaking. Rules. And then joining us at the bottom of the screen is the conductor. Conductor, welcome, man. Good to have you on the show. I know you bet on virtually everything that moves rugby-wise. What a weekend you've got ahead of you. Are you on mute, conductor?
Oh, sorry, Brenty. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, thanks, man. It was coming off a really, really good weekend last weekend. Bunnings NPC has been really good to me. It's great. It's great waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch your team win. The only problem is now my body clock is set to 4 a.m. And so now I'm up at 4 a.m. in the morning during the week. And I can confirm that DSTV is just as crap at 4 a.m. than it is during the rest of the day. So, but yeah, coming off a nice weekend. And like you say, absolutely tons of rugby to come this weekend. So really looking forward to it. And looking forward to discussing some rugby selections.
Excellent. Well, we're going to get straight into it. Just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, there's a link in the box below. And also a link to the forum where guys exchange bets and ideas throughout the week and the weekend, of course. But let's get into the rugby itself. And Harry, seeing that it's been a while since we've had you on the show, I'm going to get your views, first of all, on the outright position of the tournament. I'm going to bring the betting scrolling up there. And we had a lot of debate about the betting during the week. How would they price up? And in the end, this is where the bookmakers have gone. Well, certainly World Sports Betting that I've had a look at. New Zealand 11-20, South Africa 16-10. Okay, and it's a 2-horse race. Aussie 66-1. What's your feeling on this, Harry? Any value in backing the South Africans there?
Yeah, I think so, and I'll tell you why. The thing about New Zealand, Australia is it's a derby match. It's like Everton versus Liverpool, in that you know Liverpool is going to finish higher on the ladder, but Everton will take so much joy in nipping them at the bud, right? Denying them the championship. For Everton, even though they're living in the same town, they would love to spoil the party. You add to that the way that the first test ended, the Bledisloe test ended, and then you look at a couple other things on New Zealand's side. I wonder if we're setting up here a very tight match. I could see the Wallabies hanging in there because New Zealand 2022 is not New Zealand, that we know. They have a bad habit of letting in late tries as well. You look at the team sheets as well. You have the All Black loose trio just got named. It's kind of exotic. And you have Dave Rennie, who's seems to be a little fired up here to make a statement. So I'm thinking Australia can hold All Blacks down more than the Pumas. The Pumas cannot hold the Boks down. They didn't do it at home. I'm having a hard time seeing them travel across the world and do it in South Africa with a very overplayed pack against 14 Boks, and the worst performing guy on the Boks packs is Dwayne Vermeulen. So it's a rough one for Pablo and Marcos, I think. So I would say to me that's an interesting one, the 16-10.
Fair enough. I think so too. And I know I'm going to come to Oracle last on this one, but let me go to the conductor on this. Conductor, what are your views here? Because the way I've assessed this, and I understand, when I thought about the betting, I thought, yes, New Zealand have to start favourite because there is a chance that they run away with the game against Australia, Eden Park and all the rest. Although I'm actually very much in Harry's camp and think the Aussies are going to make a go of it. But for me, there's definite value on South Africa there at 16-10 because there's if it was 4 tries for a bonus point, I'd have no hesitation in saying New Zealand bonus point is an absolute banker. But by 3 tries or more, I can well see Aussie hanging in there. And if it does come down to South Africa just needing a bonus point against Argentina, I'd be very, very confident of them getting it. What are your thoughts on that one, Brendan?
Yeah, Brent, I think if it's one thing we're guaranteed is some drama in this in this last 2 games. I think we've had so much drama and controversy, and we've had it all. It's been like an episode of Bold and the Beautiful with a slightly less handsome Ridge Forrester played by Mattia Renal last week, really stirring it up in the Rugby Championship, and so it's had everything. I mean, every week we've had a big point to discuss, whether it's been Marika Korobedi or Mattia Renal or Darcy Swain or then Ian Foster's fighting for his job, but etc. So it's been really, really fun-filled. So it wouldn't be beyond imagination that there could be a couple of twists and turns. As Harry says, we'll obviously discuss the New Zealand game, but there is some interesting selections from Fozzie. And Wallabies are fired up. I think there's 2 ways to look at what happened to them last week. One can be dejected. I think they're going to take it the other way. I think they're actually going to find a lot of motivation in that, in the aspect that they should have won, and they can win. I think that's a big thing. And I agree. It's not the New Zealand defence we knew for many years ago. All the King's horses and all the King's men couldn't put New Zealand defence back together again, and neither can Joe Schmidt. So they are conceding easy tries. I think some of those tries Aussie scored were great, and I think it's hopefully an open game. And I think 16-10 is probably the value. I wouldn't take money on New Zealand, although I do see them getting the bonus points and potentially a good win in Eden Park. But I think 16-10 is a decent strike. Aussie aren't out of it either. Let's put it that way, and then we'll discuss why. But 16-10 for a bit of a fun run on Saturday is probably where my money would be.
Right, well, let's go to the Oracle now. Oracle, I know you're going to have some firm views on this one. The box there at 16-10, you've stated quite clearly you're onto them. Give us your reasons.
Well, I'm going to tell you that's the wrong price by country mile. And not only can Australia win this tournament, Argentina can as well. And this is the first time we've ever had a situation that more than one team can win on the last round. I don't even remember when there was even 2 teams that could win on the last round. Excuse me. So what WSB have done is, I'm chuckling because I don't have an account there, and I wish I did because I'd be all over the 16-10. They've made a massive mistake. They've gone and looked at Betfair, which sat for the whole week at 1-3 and 15-10. And what they do at Betfair is these clever oaks, so they'll go stick £5. I'll say, right, there's £5 there at 15-10. Come and grab it if you want. And people sit there and they wait. And there's no volume. So the clever oaks on the other side are not going to take that £5 because they know that it sends a signal to the world. What's happened today is they're now looking for 11-10 on Betfair South Africa. So WSB is sitting at 16-10 right now. They're sitting ducks. If you've got an account at WSB, go climb on because that price won't be available tomorrow. It's going to go. I make South Africa favourites for this outright here. I know that the handicaps are similar, and I know that they both need they're 50-50 from it if you're looking at the table. But the reality is that South Africa beating Argentina by 30 versus New Zealand beating Australia by 30 are completely different things. They're not the same. the handicaps might look the same, but the reality is they're not. This Argentinian team is in massive trouble. They look like they're going to fall over. They're tired. They played a lot more time. They had their chance last week at 18-20 or 20-22. If they'd won the game there, I say they buy a plus it the whole week. They're ready to go this weekend. They're a different team. They're gone. It's the hardest for them. They're probably 200-1 to win this tournament. Australia, they're not 200-1. Australia can win. If Australia win here, well, I say that, but Argentina aren't beating South Africa, so let's stop talking rubbish here. There's only 2 teams that can win, and in fact, there's 1 team that can win, and it's going to be South Africa. 16-10 is way overpriced. It's about, seriously, I think South Africa should be 6-10. I think it's close to 3 times as much as it should be. Price is completely wrong. If you have an account at WSB, deposit, hit the button, take the 16-10 because it will not be available. In fact, never mind tomorrow after this show.
Right, fair comment there, I think, Oracle, on that one. But let's get into the game itself. And let's start off with the first test, of course, and that is going to be New Zealand up against Australia. This handicap has been pretty stable all week. I've got you 15.5. I haven't really looked around at different bookmakers, just grabbed a couple of prices. And let's start with the conductor on this one. Conductor, what do you make of this game? While you're having a look at that, I'll also just skim for a points line. I'm imagining it's around about the 50-point mark. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Brent, this is an interesting one. As Harry said, interesting selection for their loose trio with Akira at 6, Dalton at 7, and Ardie Sevilla back at 8 after welcoming his bundle of joy into the world. The ever versatile Geordie Barrett at 12. I think he's done more positions than the Kama Sutra sex book, because I think he's been everywhere in that back line. I think he's been 10, 12, 14, 15. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 players in the world who've played international rugby in more positions. So, geez, he's used everywhere. But obviously, Foster, trusting him to be a bit more experienced than Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. RTS hasn't really convinced me all that much for Auckland and the Blues. Yeah, he's a big physical player, but yeah, I'm yet to see this amazing hype that they talk about him. For me, a guy like Sonny Bill was a much more game breaker than RTS, but maybe he just needs a bit more time in Union. So obviously with interesting selections with Offa Tuafangasi and Nepola Lala coming as props on the reserves. I'm not really sure I rate Nepola Lala too highly, but interesting that they've come back. And obviously Bodie Barrett at 15. So yeah, it's definitely for me an All Black side that's set up to run. But we've seen often in the instances of All Black rugby they sometimes don't get that backline clicking. And obviously with Aussie, Darcy Swain, he copped a 6-match ban for his infringement there. Getting back Caden Neville at 5. One of my big favourites, I've always loved him for the Reds, is big Harry Wilson at 8, and then Valentini going back in at the side of the ruck. And I was super impressed with Valentini and Pete Samu. Their actual work rate was incredible. So yeah, even though Lolesio was fit, sorry, I forgot his name now. A big Foley getting the nod back in at 10. So yeah, fairly much unchanged except for a couple of changes for Oz. Yeah, I rate they can do the business here, and I'm hoping they do the business at Eden Park. Obviously, last time they won was in '86, so it's a fair few years since Tace's victory in Eden Park. We all know it's a tough ground to play in. It'll be sold out. Weather looks good in Auckland. But yeah, I think I hope Aussies give them a scare. Short and sweet, I'm not going to touch anything on the cap here. I once again think the cap is far too high at 17.5 or 15.5 as you've put up there. I'm going to try and play it short and sweet and go over 50.5 total points. I really think the Aussies are going to bring the mongrel. I think Dave Rennie has got them in the right mindset. I don't think it's the best NZ defense. My only concern is Aaron Smith said they're treated like a test match. So I just wonder if they're going to try and defend a bit more and maybe take the threes rather than their not natural open running attacking style to rather build up that points difference against us. Look, they're going to look for that bonus point, of course, but then they're going to obviously want to build up that points difference. So that makes me a little bit worried. But the fact is they're going to go for that bonus points. Going to look for that 4 tries. So that tells me I'm I should be good for that over 50.5.
Right, over 50.5 for the conductor. We'll leave Oracle for last on this game and go up to Harry for his views on the All Blacks against Australia. Points line 50.5, handicap around about the 15.5 mark.
Yeah, I think this is a high-scoring match. It tends to be. These are brothers playing. They're siblings. It's difficult for anyone to be surprising. Everyone's worked out everyone. Everyone plays against everyone. You even have players like Pete Samu who played for the Crusaders. You have a lot of crossover here. You have Dave Rennie who would know every single way to find out a new 12. And yes, Geordie played 12 in Super Rugby, but it's not quite the same. I think you have a pretty well-settled Wallaby midfield, and you have a revolving door in the midfield for New Zealand. So I don't think they can cover that 15.5. I don't see that. I see them winning the match. I see the All Blacks winning the match, but I think it's going to come down to a kick. My reasoning there is you have advantages at the lock position, Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock, but that's not what gives you the points differential you need or the try scoring you need. It just wins you the match. Where I'm looking for the points comes from Will Jordan, Caleb Clark, and Beauden Barrett. What my observation about Beauden Barrett is just this, and I called him for ages the BBBBB, the Bach-beating bastard Beauden Barrett. But he lost something in the last 2 seasons, and I think he's pushing too hard. He's not a guy who can accept being the second behind Richie Maunga. So when he comes on, he tries too much. When he gets a start, he tries too much. And there's a very subtle problem when you're chasing big points or bonus points or big scores. You end up not scoring as much as if you would just approach it like a normal game and get out to a 21-4, a 21-6 lead, 21-9. Then you blow out. If you try to chase it from the beginning, you go wide to a guy like Caleb Clark, or you trust Rieko Ioane to make good decisions, or Beauden Barrett in his mood. You can make a lot of big problems. You can throw some intercepts. You can lose the ball out on the flanks. And then we know that Australia knows how to take that to the house. So some of the bad footballing decision-making by Caleb Clark has been overcome, but some of that stuff has led to tries against New Zealand. Rieko Ioane has done some great things, but he's also done some terrible things this season. And I said Beauden Barrett can push too hard. So I think there's a problem here in the setup. I think they might have been better off trying to just pick the best team available instead of trying to trick it up. The exotic loose trio of Akira Ioane, Dalton Papali, who's out of form, and Artie Savea is that you're almost playing into Wallaby hands because the Wallabies have lucked themselves into a very strong loose trio with Rob Bellatini in the form of his life and Pete Samu untackleable and unplayable. So I think this could be a tight one. On the Wallaby side, they have holes too. The problem is they have Jed Holloway, Caden Neville, and Nick Frost in the second row. That's 11 caps total. I would like something different. The other part of my brain says maybe it's good that you have people who don't have as many losses in Eden Park stored up in their brain, no? So there's a lot of defeatism in a guy like Michael Hooper if you've played 25 times in Eden Park and you lose. So maybe you have these guys like Jed Holloway, who's kind of a nutter, and you have Caden Neville, who doesn't give a shit. So maybe this is good. I don't know, but I would think Bernard Foley would come with more intent this time. He's certainly not going to be waiting more than about 3 seconds to kick out. And our favorite Frenchman from Perpignan is a touch judge, just so you know. So that's going to be some drama where he does the exit placement. On this one, I'd look for the starts. The Wallabies have been absolutely terrible when they start badly. They've been run over. They've been roadkill. But if they can hang in there and it's 18-12 or 15-all or something, I think that desire to make history at Eden Park is going to kick in, and the pent-up whatever it is, I mean, they're just going to be like ready to do whatever it is because they think that whole thing was skellum last week. I mean, they really do. They think that the whole thing was cooked. So, I'm thinking maybe we come down to a kick one way or the other.
Well, let's bring the Oracle in there. I think I saw a subtle little shrug of the shoulders there, Oracle, at some point.
Yeah, I gave Harry the French shrug, but I didn't give him the French facial expression of the shrug after his article. It was a very good article, by the way, Harry. I was very impressed. But I will tell you, I saw Steve Bead over there saying you need a bonus point to win the game. I'm going to tell you, Steve, New Zealand are going to get a bonus point. but they're not going to win the game because they're probably not going to lose by more than 7. Sorry. I've got to tell you, I sometimes I really hate the Aussies. And when I see 6 and 7 to 1 about the board, I've got to go. And I know that it's easy to tell me. I know, Conductor, you had a great weekend last weekend. Hell, I backed Australia on the board. I backed the Lions on the board, and I backed Argentina on the board. In fact, I got 25 to 1 at halftime and still lost. My kid was shouting for South Africa, and I said, listen, I'll give you $1,000 if they win, and I'll give you 500 if it's less than 7. And suddenly he started shouting for the Pumas. But I did win my handicap at halftime. They were plus 21.5. So I did lose last weekend. It wasn't a great weekend for me. But I'd like to say I'm pretty close with my stuff. The Lions got to 15 all in the second half. Obviously, Australia nearly won that game. And Argentina, if they'd just done 1 or 2 things, they would have won. And yeah, I don't know. Here I am. I'm sitting with South Africa to win the tournament, and I've backed them not every weekend. I've backed them at 18-10, 14-10, 5-2. I didn't take them when they were 4-1 after the Ellis Park game. And I've got to tell you, at 16-10 now, I wish I could get some. I'm hoping the other bookmakers come out, but I honestly think South Africa will start as favourites, probably 7 or 8-10, maybe as low as 6-10 to win this championship. But listen, Australia, yeah, the Eden Park thing's been going on a long time. I know that the last time. I know that Australia won in the 80s, I think it was 30 odd years ago, and the last time somebody won there, I think it was the French team. This Australian team wasn't bad last week. They started badly, yes, and Bernard Foley he actually played a good game. I mean, let's look at those 3 tries that they scored. They were all in the corner, and he slotted those kicks under big pressure. He got them back within a little bit, and then they got the lead with that Ferry taking a kick from the halfway line. So, I just think that Australia went bad. They took the pressure moments in the game last week. I think what happened to New Zealand is they thought, yeah, we've got it up. We're cantering towards the end, and we can relax. And Harry's right. They're going to enter this game, and the World Cup has eliminated this problem. I can't really speak for rugby, but soccer has definitely eliminated the problem where the last 2 teams play at the same time. And this is a massive factor for South Africa. Playing hours later, not just half an hour later. They play, I think, 5 or 6 hours later, and they know exactly what they need. And New Zealand are going to go into this, and we've seen it so many times. I say we. I'm talking about the guys on the show here, people watching the show, listening to the show, commenting on the show. How many times have we seen a team try and chase points? Yeah. The first thing, they get a penalty, they kick in the corner. They try and get 7, and it always fails. It doesn't always fail. 90% of the time it fails. I don't want to ever be on teams like that. If New Zealand approach this properly, honestly, if they get a penalty, they take their 3, you get up to 9, you're already in trouble. The other team has to score a try and maybe another penalty after that. Once you've got a 12 or 15-point lead, then you can start looking for tries and going for bonus points. But I know what New Zealand are going to do here. They're going to go. They're going to get their first penalty. I can already see it. I've seen this movie. I know how it is. They're going to kick it in the corner. They're going to go for a try. They're going to miss. And next thing, Australia are going to be 9-0 up or 9-3 or 12-6. They're going to have a bit of a lead. And I honestly think Australia at this price, it's a huge price. I'm going to go Australia. I'm not going to take the handicap again. I'm not going to get involved in this 9-10 stuff for this match. I'm going to rather take the 6-1, and I'm guessing I might even get a bit more, maybe as much as 8-1 before the game starts. I think there's very little risk, risking 12, 15% of your stake for a profit. I'm going to go for it. I think Australia can win this game. I think they've got enough in their heads to do it. I think they've got over this Raynell problem that they had last week. I think, and I agree. I don't think the Oaks going to take more than 3 seconds to kick a ball this weekend. Not only him, I think everybody around the world is going to start kicking quickly because of that precedent that they set. But yeah, this is a medium stake on Australia to win the game on the board.
Excellent. Oracle, I must say I'm very much in agreement with you in that. I can see that as well. New Zealand kicking to the I totally agree. If you go in this particular competition, what New Zealand and for that matter South Africa, if they need the bonus point win with points difference or something, accumulate the points first, put the other team away, and then hammer them in the second half. But Oracle, I've got to question your logic there. You're telling me New Zealand are not going for 3-pointers, yet you're talking about scores like 9-3 and 12-6.
Drop goal, though. Brilliant.
No,
we'll have a better quick answer.
That was quick thinking, Oracle. Very well done. Okay, let's move on to South Africa up against Argentina. Now, obviously, the thing about this game is a lot is going to depend on what happened in the game before. I mean, you could have a situation if Australia win the game where the Boks just have to beat Argentina. But you could also have the situation where the bonus point will get them a win. And then there's, of course, a situation where you need the bonus point and the points difference. They're going to be very, very interesting. And Harry, let me start with you on this one. There's been quite a bit of money from what I've seen for the Springboks as the week has gone on. I know I capped the game around about 4. I think I capped it 15.5 or 14.5. It's more or less where it opened, but it's definitely been pushing out to the sort of 17.5 barriers. I can tell you the total points line here, Harry, is also 50.5, exactly the same. Game, of course, taking place in Durban.
Yeah, it's a dry track. I look at the weather. It looks like it's going to be a nice field. There's actually a pretty big speed advantage for the Boks on this one. Not just because the Pumas are not as quick in the backs, but also in the forwards. You look at actually, you get beyond stereotypes about the Springboks, and that's a very quick pack with a very quick pack bench. Bongi, Ox, actually Vincent Koch is underrated. Quagga Smith is as quick as a back. Mostert and Dutoy are not slow. Etzebeth is looking like he's added some speed to his game when he dropped a few pounds. And we have, Marks is not shabby too. If you look at the Pumas, what I'm worried about for them, if I'm trying to hold it to that margin, is that Marcus Kremer is the top tackler in the comp. Pablo Matera is the top carrier and then second on tackles. That's a lot of G-forces. That's 110 impacts of the highest order. You have Tomas Lavanini, who looked like he was about to die in the Buenos Aires match. You have the props that are substandard. And then you have Julio Montoya, who's probably their best player. He played for Leicester Tigers as their captain. I think he and Jasper Wiese have 36-7 matches in a 12-month period. That's too much rugby for anyone. And it's going to hinder their ball carrying ability, which means they cannot hold on to the ball, which means that they're going to have spilled ball. They're going to have given up the turnover ball, and that's what the Boks love. And then you're off to the races. I think the fact that you have a true bomb squad for the first time in 2022 with 6 raring to go forwards that are in form, Bongi back, he's going to be out of his skull. I think everyone in the starting pack is going to realize that they can empty their tank, except for whoever's going to go 80, probably Ibn and maybe Peter Steff. And so I think it's going to be a tough one for Argentina to get to halftime in a legitimate way to win the match. So I think if you can do that, it's basically like the first match in Argentina. That sets up to be more of a bonus point win, which it turned out to be, because then whoever's trying to catch up expends all the energy, and then 20 minutes left. Who do you have on the Pumas bench? You have guys that we don't know except for Petty and Creevy, and so and Kubeli. But everyone else is kind of an unknown factor. They're not used to playing in such a hostile crowd. And quite frankly, I think the fact that Santiago Carreras is not really a true number 10 going up against the most confident Bok that ever played Springbok rugby, Frans Steyn, I think it's a trouble because France is going to be tasting this one. He's never afraid to win or lose. He's never afraid to take the big stage. He has the best win-loss record of any Springbok currently, even against All Blacks. I just don't think Frans Steyn appreciates some of the chatter going around about how he's old. Maybe he laughs it off. I don't know. But secretly, I think he's coming out to make a point and play his way onto the plane for the World Cup and cement that position. So for me, I think it's going to be right about that score. This is actually a better one. They put it 17.5. I think that's interesting. Not a strong one, but I'm going to say South Africa will beat that because of the motivation, because of the need, and because of the lack of a Pumas bench. I also think that Argentina was hanging on by a straw last week. I don't think it was that close, actually. I think if the Mostert juggle doesn't get called that way and Leeuwin is over for the try, we're looking at a 7 or 8 try win. So, that was a big factor, actually. So, yeah, for me, that's how I go. I think in both matches are going to be over 50 points total. So that's how I see it. I don't really see Argentina's way back into this match, actually.
Right. Okay. So you like overs in both games. And I can tell you now, I'm going to go to Oracle. I'll leave conductor for last on this one. Oracle, no doubt you're stamping the minus 17.5. Although I guess you're going to stamp it by saying, don't worry about 17.5. Take the 25.5.
I'm going to tell you that the results of the South African game is 100% determined or as a result of the New Zealand game in the morning. It really is. If New Zealand win this game, and I get it wrong, and it's not a close game, Australia don't win. Let's say New Zealand win by 20. South Africa have to win by 33. They've got to win by 13 more points, assuming that All Blacks get the bonus point. And at the same time, something else happens which motivates the Springboks, is that the Argentinians are out the tournament. If Australia win this game, then you've got to look at the South African game a little bit differently, because Argentina theoretically can win the tournament. So if New Zealand win, they can't win. But if Australia win, they can win, and they'll probably a little bit be up for a little bit. And I'm the first one to say,
don't they have a ridiculous points difference, Gav?
Yeah,
they do. You've got to beat South Africa by 30 something. But it's they're not going to walk in there and say,
chance, but no more than that.
No. If Australia win this game, Argentina need to beat South Africa. I think it's about 34, 35 points. It's not impossible.
But Gav,
it's 80 minutes.
But New Zealand and South Africa on 14. So Australia not only have to beat New Zealand, they've got to beat because Argentina, am I right, guys, is on 9? Or they're on
9. Yeah.
So they not only have to beat New Zealand, Australia, they've got to stop New Zealand getting a bonus point. And then you're right, there is a mathematical chance, but I can tell you now, Argentina will have they're going into this game with no chance. I don't care what happens in Australia of the New Zealand game. Argentina will not think they can win this tournament. There's absolutely that's why the bookies aren't even quoting them.
They already won the tournament for them when they beat New Zealand in Christchurch. Yeah. And they gave a hiding to Wallabies. I think they're done. It's just a holiday in Durban. Yeah.
I will tell you guys, and I'm sure Brent will remember, early 2000s, the Bulls needed 66 points to get to qualify something, and they got it. And I'll never ever forget that day. That it doesn't matter how far a team is away from getting something. If they've got a target, they'll go for it. And this is a team that's got nothing to lose. Anyway, the point that I'm making here is I'm not getting involved in the South African match until that New Zealand game's over. So I actually have nothing to say at this point. I have to say that I'm on Australia on the board, and I'm on South Africa for the tournament at 16-10 if I can get it. I'm really trying. I've WhatsApp people. I've got oaks that I know, and I know Steve Reed. I do apologize. I do know some people with WSB accounts. I'm really sorry, but I've tried to get on there, and I want as much as that as I can. And I'll take seriously anything above even money South Africa here. So I'm all about South Africa to win the tournament, and I've had a medium strike on Australia on the board here, and I'll take a little bit more if their price gets bigger. I have nothing to say about the South African game. If Australia win this game and I'm right, South Africa just need to win. They might win by 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever it is, because it'd be a bit tougher. The Argentinians will be a little bit more up, but they are tired. These guys are really tired. I know Harry said to me the other day, a couple of them are going to drop over. I think he's 100% right. I think this is really, really, this could be 50-0, but it could also be 15-3. It's just, I don't know. I've got nothing to say for this game. I'd rather wait until the New Zealand game is over, and I'll make my comment at that point.
Excellent. Well, I must say, I think that's sound advice from Oracle there. I'm not saying don't get involved if you like something. It's a bit like getting involved in the Gallagher Premiership before the teams come out. You could make certain assumptions and get involved, but another option is what the Oracle says there is basically wait and see what happens with the game. I mean, I think of markets like total tries in the game and that. It's going to be usually influenced by what happens in that New Zealand match. So that's fair advice. Conductor, let's get your views. I'm going to let you close us off on the Rugby Championships.
Yeah, Brent, I'm firmly on the same page as what Gavin has said there. I'm not gonna get involved with this game before I sort of understand the dimensions of what SA need to do for their game, because exactly what you guys said, ending off in the previous game, when teams chase big point totals, often they can try and be too expansive too soon. If the Boks are chasing a 33-point deficit, as Gavin says, I can literally see a score of sort of 12-3 at the end of halftime with Boks just making too many mistakes, trying to chase the total. instead of trying to build it run by run, get a 5 or 10 point lead, just build it slowly, because like Harry says, I think we're gonna finish like a house on fire with Quagga Smith at 10. I mean, it's gonna be glorious. I mean, I will that guy should have his statue bronze outside Kings Park when he plays at fly off to beat the RGs by the necessary points total. But yeah, I mean, it's so dependent upon what we need to do. I agree with Harry. My initial gut feeling was, the Argentinian game in New Zealand was their Everest. That's what they've accomplished it. That's what they set out to do. They've done it. I think they've achieved what they needed to achieve. Last week in Argentina was a chance. That chance has now slipped away. So it's 30 odd blokes flying to South Africa for a well, you can't go swimming in Mshlanga because it's all for the sewerage. But I assume they're probably going to tan on the beach a bit. But yeah, I think they're going to come and get this game over with. Where the motivation sold out Kings Park, far high with the box. If this game was anywhere, okay, except for Cape Town Stadium because the field was a bit rubbish. This game was in Bloemfontein, Ellis Park, Loftus. I'd back the -17.5 with Gab's granny's pension all the way, because really, especially at altitude. But my only concern is Durban has been the worst performing ground for us. I think if you look at our record there, I think it's only around about 67%. Combined with things like factors like humidity, we just some or other reason we don't click there. It's not a happy hunting ground for us. Anywhere else, if we had played in Kimberley at the Griquas Stadium, I would have loaded this game and I would have been there in my Griquas jersey. But yeah, it's not like I said, it's not a great ground for us. But I'll make a call after the New Zealand game. But my fancy is on the minus. I do think Argentina are just running out of legs, even though they've brought in a guy like Jean Imhoff, who has got a great try scoring record against us. I really think they're running on fumes.
Yeah, interesting. I know there are points lines out already there, but possibly an Argentina unders for me on that game as well. Anyway, gents, that brings us to the end of the Rugby Championship. Oracle, one more thing from you. Sorry, I have to mute you because for some reason I get feedback when I'm talking and I don't mute you. Yeah, what have you got for us, Oracle?
Conductor, I don't know if you saw that meme going around where the guy said his petrol light is shining brighter than the lights in his house at the moment. I've got to say, this Kings Park, we've done so badly. I think people are still remembering the game against France in the 1995 World Cup, and they remembering a game we won in 1998 against New Zealand over there. There's no way to say that it's harder to win by 30 in Kings Park than anywhere else. So yes, let's hope that Australia do keep them down to something marginal, because the Griquas Stadium would be a lot better if we could get that. The other thing I wanted to point out is you made a comment about going overs on Australian points. And I'd like to say that the last 4 times that they played New Zealand, I know that most of the games were in Australia, but they've scored more than 24 or more points each of those last 5 games, actually. So Australia have definitely been scoring against New Zealand recent, should I say, last couple of years. So that's a good sign. They're not playing the games where they were getting 3s and 5s and 7s as they were before that. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Right, that's the end of the Rugby Championship then. Harry, just from your side, we're going to move on to URC now. Have you got any views on the URC, or do you want to say cheers to us after the now and share your best bets with us now? What have you looked at the URC at all?
No, yeah, I can stay on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. You're staying on for the URC. That's great. Let's get into it then. We'll get cracking straight away. I'm going to give Conductor first shot at the first game. Zebra plus 15.5 against Sharks. Conductor, I've seen on Twitter most of the guys leaning towards the home team here. They were very impressive against Leinster last weekend.
Yeah, Brent, I think one of the guys on Twitter reached out to me and said, he brought up one of my previous comments where I said that my 3 greatest loves in life is Kylie Minogue, the dimples above a woman's bum, and opposing Zebra Palmer Rugby Club. So I'm going to have to ditch one of these. I'm going to have to find a third best love, because I'm going to back Zebra on the plus here. Look, they were impressive against arguably a sort of a B-ish, C-ish Leinster side last week. Leinster dominated the opening exchanges, but then really allowed Zebra to come back. Zebra played some really, really attractive rugby. Pierre Bruno scored some great tries. if Tiff Eden off the tee could have kicked a bit better, Zebra could have beaten Leinster. That would have been a historic win there in Palmer. I'm going to take a small strike on Zebra. It's not going to be massive. The Sharks team is a lot stronger than what I envisioned, because I did see there was a fairly long injury list at the Sharks. But nonetheless, Butcher Chamberlain taking the reins at 10. I like Grant Williams at 9. Rowan Janssen van Rensburg making his debut for the Sharks. The weekend special, Apalele Fasti at 15. And, Sharks scrum with, Detroit, with the captain's armband as well. He's great. And Carlu Sadi riding the pine, coming off there. So I think the Zebra scrum might be in a bit of trouble. But, I like what this Fabio Roselli has done. He's taken over from Bergamasco, who's had to attend to other matters. Zebra look absolutely pumped for that Leinster game. I hope they bring the same intensity against the Sharks team. Sharks don't love a big minus. They're not necessarily guys to, smoke big minuses. I'm a bit worried about Zebra's maul defense and scrum, but I'm going to take a small strike for Zebra to keep it close here, and hope the Sharks start off a bit cold.
Excellent. Well, let's see what the Oracle's views in on this one. Guys, just a time check. I see we're 40 minutes in. I've got a hard close at about 10:15. So if you don't have any views on that, no problems. We can skip over. Zebra, Sharks there. Oracle, anything from you? Oh, sorry, I've muted Oracle. Sorry, Oracle. Chat away.
What's a hard close? I don't know what that means.
I've got to lift my son to an after party tonight, and I've got to leave at 10:15. So that's what a hard close means. The show has to end then.
Give him the car keys and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Listen, to keep it quick here. I didn't watch this game. I watched the highlights, but I've got to say, yes, they were down in the dumps from a scoreboard perspective. The Zebra, they loaded with South Africans. I don't know all of them. I know, and I was quite impressed earlier. Conductor, you didn't know a single player was fist pumping under the table. I've never heard you say you didn't know somebody's name, and I was quite impressed that we've eventually found somebody you didn't know. But anyway, I'm going to say plus 15's a go here. I know that it was a bit higher during the week, but again, it's early for me in this tournament, so I'm really playing it very small this week. It's like a unit or a half a unit. I'm going to stick a unit on this team to win on the board. I'm getting, by the looks of it, I'm getting 5.5 to 1. I'm happy with that. It's a small strike, and I think they can. Obviously, the Sharks have got a good team on paper. They've got to travel over to Italy. This team's had a bit of practice. They're not moving for the week. They're more likely to win this game than the odds suggest, in my opinion. I think it's a little bit of value.
Right, Harry, are you on the plus camp here as well in this game?
Yeah, I go with the Sharks on this line. I know they have all their fly halves have broken arms, but they're going to break some arms in Italy. So I think it's going to be a brutal awakening for Zebra. I like the idea of Koch. I like the idea of Rohan coming in at 12. I like the scrum actually for the Sharks, and Buthelezi at the back. I think he's motivated as well to show. So I think actually the bench is not too bad either with Nocha and old Fred Zailinga bringing up the troops. So I do think they're gonna cover that.
Right, we'll stick with you for the next game. Glasgow minus 6.5 against Cardiff. You got any views for us there?
Yeah. I'm not. That's a tough one. I actually think it's going to come down to 2 points either way, and I wouldn't be interested in that one as a punter.
Right, Gavin, anything for you? Have you looked only at the South African sides, or have you got any views on this?
No, only the South African games this week. I'll get into all of the games next week.
No, 100%. And we know one man who's looked at every game this weekend already, so he will have a view for us on this one as a conductor.
Brent, just to be very quick, as like I said, we're running out of time. I've taken a small strike on Glasgow minus 4.5. Yes, they were abysmal last week at Benetton, but getting back Fraser Brown, Matt Ferguson, Rory Dodge, Scott Cummings, so a bit of a boost for them. Whereas Cardiff lose one of their best ball carriers last week, Tulupe Falatau. His game time is being managed, and Liam Williams is unfortunately out with a broken collarbone. So, that's two quite key players for Cardiff. I do rate Cardiff side. I really like Da Young as the coach. He's excellent. I've always enjoyed him as a coach. No nonsense. Really, respected. But yeah, and we had Franco Smith. The jury's still out on him in terms of his ability. I don't think this was the best appointment for Glasgow in my opinion. I think they maybe could have gone another way, but I think there's enough quality coming back for Glasgow in front of their home fans to get the win. And like I said, I've taken a little bit of -4.5, but nothing massive on that game. As I still think, there's a lot of quality in that Cardiff side.
Well, Conductor, I'll stay with you for the next game. Leinster -32.5 against Benetton. Now, Benetton, very impressive last week.
Yeah.
I know they're travelling now, but Leinster, on the other hand, weren't that impressive against Zebra. Gee, this looks I love Leinster. I really, Henrik and I are often opposed when it comes to talking on Leinster games, but sure, but my initial instinct is this cap must be too high, surely.
No, Brent, this is the BMW. Leinster are the BMW of rugby teams. It's completely overpriced to what you're getting. It's so overinflated. Yes, it is Benetton. Yes, Leinster. Obviously, it was I think 25 earlier in the week, but I think you can get -37 in places. So that the market's reacted to team news where Leinster playing all of their Irish internationals are back. I think except for Hugo Keenan, he's not back. I think he's still injured. I think 1 or 2 are missing, but fairly much an A-team Leinster side. I think this Benetton side is good enough to cover that. So it's a crazy price in my opinion. Yes, Leinster could cover this cap, but really they'd have to fire on all cylinders to cover it. Whereas if Benetton sneak 1 or 2 tries and you're on the Leinster minus, you're going to be sweating all night. So you're going to be sweating like a dog in a Chinese restaurant. So rather take, for me, it's on the Benetton plus all the way.
Right, Shane just mentioning there the total points at 58. Now let's get Harry's views on this. Are you also of the opinion, Harry, that Leinster, perhaps as good as they are, the bookies tend to overrate them a bit?
Yeah, I think it's an effect, a Leinster effect. It's been the number one potted, discussed, written about club for maybe 2 or 3 seasons now, and I think that's a terribly overshot on that number.
Right, Gav, anything on this? I know you're not a big handicap minus backer, so if anything, you would automatically be looking at the plus here.
I didn't look at all of the handicaps, Brent, but I got to say, 32. I will have a small strike on Benetton. I don't even care if they're playing, under 20 players. It's just too much for week 2 in a game. It's mathematical. This is a mathematical punt for me. Don't care. I'm on the plus here. I will have a bet.
Right, next game.
I can't believe
Scarlet's numbers. Any views on this one? You passing on this one?
Yeah, so that's a tough one to handicap because Ulster's missing 9 players in the emerging Ireland squad. I think Ian Henderson's still out, who's the best forward. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit tough there, but they scored 5 tries last week, and I'm not thinking too much about Scarlets at this point. So I'm actually going to go. I think Ulster is a nice one here. They still have people like Rob Herring and Kieran Treadwell, Nick Timoney, who I think is underrated. So for me, it's Ulster, and then not just in this match, but Ulster's going to have a good season.
Right, Ulster one to follow this season. It looked like a bit of a nod of the head there from the conductor. Conductor, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Brent, I'm in complete agreement with what Harry said there. The whole situation regarding the emerging tour to South Africa is a bit confusing for me because, like Munster won't select the players that have been selected for the tour, but Kieran Frawley is playing for Leinster tomorrow against Benetton. So I'm not quite sure how, obviously, but I think it's up to each club to decide how they're going to do it. But I've always been a massive Ulster fan. Love the way they play. Great positive rugby. I think they've got 7 players returning from the guys that toured to New Zealand. So in addition to the players that Harry mentioned, you got guys like Michael Lowry coming back, John Cooney, he's coming back from injury as well. So we could see, like I said, Timoney, Treadwell, O'Toole, Herring. So we could see an incredibly strong Ulster side. This Scarlet side under Dwayne Peel, I've got no time for them. They haven't really recruited anybody. They've still got guys like Johnny McNichol playing. And man, if there's a journeyman alive, he is the poster boy for journeyman. He just carries on playing. I looked at that back line. Yes, they've got I think 5 Fafita's come in, but overall, it's really not a scary Scarlet side. And they were up for that game against Ospreys because of a Welsh derby. But yeah, I can see Ulster. I think I've seen -2.5 in places. I'm very, very happy to take. This is one of my better bets of the weekend. Ulster -2.5.
Harry and conductor very much on the same page there. Let's move on to a game that does involve a South African side. And I'm busy. I think my click is taking a while, so I'm muting him and unmuting him. But here's Oracle. I know he does look at the South African teams. Stormers -11.5. Oracle, I can tell you most of the views that I've seen on Twitter, and I know one of the guys on our show is quite firm on Connacht on the plus. What do you think?
I have no idea why. I just want to say that the biggest journeyman has got to be that Zeilinger, the character that's playing for the Sharks. I think that explained for 13 of the 14 unions in South Africa. But yeah, no, sorry. Connacht got smashed last week. Stormers they're ready to go. This is first time Cape Town. The weather's been good this week. We had a bit of rain today. But I'm sorry, 11.5. This should be closer to 20. I'd have a medium strike on the minus here. I don't think this team's going to have travelled very well. It's difficult. You know, if this was 25 or 26, I'd probably say, listen, no bet. Closer to 30, I'd say you've got to go for the plus. But Stormers at 11.5 in the first game against a team that got absolutely murdered last week. I've got to have that.
We'll go to the conductor. We'll end with Harry on this one. Conductor, I see you chuckling because I know you're very strong on Connacht. If I'm not mistaken, around plus 13.5. The money has come, and I'm going to say that Oracle's bet there needs to come with a bit of a disclaimer.
No, Brenty, it opened at 16.5 at Bet365, and that's where I was hoping to get it. Managed to go plus 13.5. Obviously, Connacht with 99% strength. The only guy is missing is no Cardi, no Party. So Jack Cardi, he's got an injury, but other than that, it's pretty much full strength. Connacht side. I saw one of the guys post on the forum that Bundi Aki wouldn't be playing, but he's available to the side. So I hope they do play. I hope he does play. Mac Hansen, I love Mac Hansen for Ireland, and Finley Beelum in at the prop there. Jared Butler also available for Connacht. And Kian Pendergast, who played against the New Zealand Maori in that New Zealand tour, really like him. He'll come back into the flanks. So a lot of these guys were missing against Ulster, and Ulster at home in Belfast, they're absolutely ruthless. So I wouldn't really take that as an indication of how they can play. Yes, Connacht sometimes don't have the best away record, but for me, they've got a game under the belt. They're flying to South Africa. They're tackling the Stormers, not in Cape Town, but at the Donny Craven and Stellenbosch. So there'll be a student vibe. Apparently, there's free beer for the first 500 people. So you can imagine it's going to be like a varsity cup game with guys going dilly, and it should be like a carnival rugby. For me, Donny Craven more resembles Galway Sports Ground, so that smaller ground feel to it. The Stormers side, if you take that final versus the Bulls, very, very, very different side. You've got Warwick Gallant and Sergel Peterson who've left Stormers. Leland Zass and Null are injured. And then you've got guys, Willemse is also injured as well. And then you've got a lot of the Stormers who have left for the box, which is Fourie, Kitsoff, Malhadaba. And Fourie for me is a big one. He was absolutely scrappy. He was amazing for the Stormers in the URC. Yes, Dweber and Salman Marat are available for the Stormers, but John Dobson has said he won't play them. He's going to integrate them, take time to integrate them. So you are going to see some experienced hands for the Stormers, some Curry Cup / Super Rugby / URC players, but you're also going to see a bit of youth in guys like probably Sasha Gomazulu and Hartzenberg, probably Dan Duplessis. Apparently Sinatla's out with COVID. So it's going to be a bit of a lads and dads feel to the Stormers side. Ali for Mark and Brock Harris. If ever Connacht are going to run them close, it's going to be this game. I think they're going to target this game. Hit Camps Bay, hit Clifton, and then worry about the Bulls next week and play that at 50%.
Before I get Harry's opinion on, because I'm going to ask him to split the two, I'll just Oracle put up his hand there. Oracle.
Yeah, I was just going to say, okay, so if this game's at Donny Craven, and I've just remembered something else, that they were one of two teams to have actually won in South Africa last year. If I remember correctly, this is a team that beat the Lions. So I'm reducing my stake from a medium stake to a small stake, but I'm still on the minus because my kid will be at the game in Stellenbosch on the weekend. I know that he's leaving tomorrow morning to go to Stellenbosch. So, yeah, I'm still on the minus. I've just reduced my stake. Thank you. Good night.
Right, well, we got them split at 1-1 there. I've got to say I'm leaning towards the conductor's argument personally over the Oracle's argument there. Harry, you the tiebreaker for us here.
Yeah, so actually it's very interesting what Conductor said. I've been to the sports ground in Galway, and it's very funny that you said that you couldn't find a place that would remind you more of that than Stellenbosch. It's going to be the best possible way for Connacht to play. I'll go with the Conductor on this one. I don't think that Sasha is ready for this type of situation yet. I think he's going to be, I predict a stumbling start. I'm VP, Stormers till I die, but I think we're going to be disappointed and, win scrappy by 4.
Right, so the tiebreakers occurred there, and I'm also leaning towards Connacht. So I will say one thing, though. Often when Oracle goes up against the world, Oracle does come out on top, so we certainly won't be writing him off just yet. Harry, we're going to stay with you for the next game, though. Blue Bulls minus 10.5 against Edinburgh.
Oh, no, I'll go with Jake on this one. It's going to be a stampede. I look at his recent statements about trying to become the Ronan O'Gara of South Africa, where it's keep ball and play. And I think this is the kind of thing, if you're going to play in altitude and you're going to look at that and be that way, this is the right way to play. I think Edinburgh is going to be in trouble here. So I think that might be a little bit generous to them.
Right, let's go down then to a Conductor. I've seen different views on this game, I must admit, but general views I've seen have been leaning towards the Bulls.
Yeah, Brent, you look at Edinburgh side they're bringing isn't weak. Jamie Ritchie, Hamish Watson, and and they scored some great tries at Darcy Graham. Cheesy, he's like a hare. I mean, you just can't catch him for love and money. And probably start Blair King at 10. But that Bulls side to me, just actually full of power. Power for 80 minutes is what you want. And I think the Bulls are going to give you power for 80 minutes. I just not 100% loving that back line. Would prefer Cornel Hendricks back in that centre. Maybe Similani not at 15. But nonetheless, I'll probably be taking a strike on the minus there. I managed to grab some over 46.5. That just seemed crazy low. I know Edinburgh at times aren't the biggest overs team, but that seemed incredibly low for an altitude game. Although when Edinburgh were in Joburg last year, I think the scoreline was like 5-13 or something like that. Very, very low scoring game. So ultimately what we're going to get, right, is we're coming back to this time wasting situation again. They're going to try and slow the clock down heavily at every junction because they're obviously scared about altitude catching up to them. So I might go and buy tickets for this game, go and stand in the US Pavilion with the sun burning my corneas and with a big clock around my neck, pointing to it every time that Edinburgh take over 15 seconds to kick the ball. And if you listen carefully, I'll be on the SuperSport mics with some choice words for the referee.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking the same. I actually hope the refs really do crack down on the time wasting because it gets a bit ridiculous at grounds like Loftus. Right, let's end this game with Oracle's views. Oracle, we got a handicap here of 10.5.
Yeah, it's not enough. I watched that Lions game last week. The Bulls were toying with the Lions. When they got into trouble at 15-all, they just put the game away. They're far too good. I thought this would be closer to 20. I know that this is a reasonably strong Edinburgh team, but I stand by what I said last year at this time. I was very surprised that any team would come over and win, and there were two foreign victories in South Africa. I don't think that there'll be that many this year. In fact, if there's 2, I'll be surprised. This team will get smashed. Bulls are going to be preparing to go overseas. I'm not even a big fan of the Bulls, but yeah, that team is too strong. And they'll win it comfortably. I just wanted to point out, Conductor, I don't know if you noticed, but your tweets on that Reynolds thing actually made the a couple of articles that I actually read on the internet. I saw your tweets on there, so well done. You got a lot of support there, a lot of interest as well.
Oracle, we'll stick with you for the next game. Ospreys against your beloved Lions. Ospreys here at home minus 10.5 point favourites.
I'd love to think the Lions have got a chance, but yeah, they were outplayed last week at home. I'd like to see a little bit more before I have a bet. At the same point, I'd like to say that the Ospreys haven't impressed me. They haven't impressed me last year, and their result of this last weekend wasn't that great. But I'm not going to get involved in this game. I will watch it from a supporter point of view, but I'm not putting money on the Lions until I see that they've actually, that they look like they're playing very well. And I was going to say that Rowan Janssen van Rensburg, that was the Lions player that's playing for the Sharks. I'll be watching with interest to see, because he's been away for a couple of years. Let's see if he can get himself back into the Springboks as well. So this game, no bet for me, but I'll be wearing my shirt and watching the game.
Right, Harry, anything for you on this one?
I mean, Ospreys are hard to beat at home. I think they've won 6 of the last 7 at home. I don't really think the Lions are playing good rugby at this moment. And I think also the Ospreys snatching that draw at the last minute kind of speaks to the fact that they're actually ready to play the season. So yeah, I would take the Ospreys on that one.
Right, and then you can bring us to an end. Is this the last game of the? No, we've still got one more game after this conductor. But your views on this game, and then I'll give you first crack at Dragons Munster.
Brent, I'll be quite brief on this. Yeah, I'm probably looking at Ospreys minus 10.5. Lions went fantastic last week. Geez, I really tipped Jordan Hendricks to really start stepping up and start looking good in a green jersey. But geez, he would have looked out of place in a with a crane under 12 side. He just looked so at sea with place kicking, passing. He was just really awful. But I mean, I think generally the Lions performance wasn't amazing. I mean, to cost you and our bets with the overs, etc. That was a bit wasn't great, especially at home. But travelled all the way to Wales. So I don't like this Lions side that's selected. I'm not a big fan of Gianni Lombard and obviously Zander du Plessis from the Griquas. These are Currie Cup players, in my opinion. I'm glad they kicked Rudolph Straley's son, or what is Straley's son, to the bench. He's out of the squad completely. He's not great. So Chuchuka, I think, comes in. So some good, some bad. I think Lions have got too many journeymen in that side, and Ospreys. Tipuric is going to be a monster on Saturday again. Dan Elliott is back. Unfortunate that Gareth Anscombe and Owen Watkins are injured. But you probably got George North or Mark Collins will come into that centre berth. But there's a lot of Welsh quality in that, in the Ospreys side, very, very proud side, and they're looking to stake themselves as one of the better Welsh clubs at the moment. So I know that Lions, actually, funny enough, do play better when they're written off. When everyone's spitting and shouting and calling them names, they actually do. Like a typical South African, whenever we're written off, we tend to play our best in any given sport. We need to be written off to perform. So I think the Lions will show a bit of gumption there, but I've still got Ospreys in the minus.
Right, we'll stick with you then for the last game. Get us going here. Dragons plus 9.5 against Munster.
Yeah, Brent, it's tough to make a case for the Dragons. To be honest, I haven't seen anybody coming back for them that would bolster their side. But geez, they took a real beating against Edinburgh last weekend. Graham Roundtree will want to get this.
They were 6-0 up and conceded 44 unanswered points because I had my 11-2 newsletter treble ending on over 51.5 points. Sorry, over 50.5 points in that game. Can you believe it? That's what my treble ended on. And it was 44-6 with 15 minutes to go, and I never got another point.
That's a bad beat. So what you were saying, they were looking so good at 6-0, and it was the luckiest 44 points you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
That much.
No, it's tough to make a case for Dragons. Yeah, like I said, Roundtree will want to make a stamp here. They are getting the Irish players back, albeit that Munster's players are getting back on more the statesmen with guys like Peter Mahoney and Conor Murray and Keith Earls and these kind of guys. But you got to think, and that pitch in Rodney Parade, it's no longer the absolute swamp it used to be. It's actually it's a carpet. So I think Munster, where it used to be like a bad day in Baghdad playing in Rodney Parade because it was so uneven. It used to hurt your knee and stuff, and it was muddy, and you have to bring a snorkel and flippers to come and play there. But no, it's really a good pitch, and that bodes badly for Dragons. So I think Munster will take advantage here. I like the minus 9.5.
Anything for you on this one, Harry?
Yeah, this is easy. Munster. That's gonna be a slaughter.
And I'm sure Sharkbrain, when you say Munster on the plus, you mean Munster on the minus there, because if you're going to take the plus, you're going to be taking 1 to 100. But Oracle, I'll give you the final word on the URC, and then I'll get the best bets quickly from you and Harry before we conduct, and I can just run through the NPC. What's your views on this one? I'm guessing maybe you don't have much on a all over season count at this stage. Sorry, Orica.
Here's another game, Brent. Yeah, I'm talking about not taking a bet this weekend. I've got to be seriously looking at this. This is crazy. This team's going to come last. I'll be surprised if they win more than 3 games. 9.5, it's not enough. It's just not enough. I'm on the Munster. I will have a bet here. And I'm now involved in 2 games I didn't even think I was going to be involved in. And this is minus. No, that's crazy.
That's the beauty of the show, though, Gav. Many a time I talk to you guys, I come in without any firm opinion, and by the end, I'm building ACCAs and all sorts of things. It's absolutely crazy. But look, let's cover the best bets for the 2 of you. I'll get Conductor's best bets, and we're going to run through Conductor. I hope you don't mind fairly quickly through the NPC games because of the fact that I've got to leave. But Oracle, your best bet or bets?
Yeah, my best bet here is Australia to keep it close. I'm just not going to take the plus. I'm going to take the board again. I'd like to say, unfortunate last week, I called it right. In fact, I did look at some of those big prices during the game, and I'm not scared to take a team that I liked before the game at 25-1 or 20-1 during the match, which Australia and Argentina got to. I'm on Australia here, and if I spot a sort of a decent start by New Zealand and a big price on Australia, I'll press again because I really think Australia will win this game. And if they don't, they'll fall short by a couple of points. I think they're up for it. I think it's my best bet of the weekend, Australia.
Right, and then Harry, from what we've looked at across the Rugby Championships and the URC, a couple of bets that stand out for you?
Best bet would be the Bledisloe 2 to go over 50.5 points. The other one would be the Bulls, I think, against Edinburgh. And then I'm interested in the box, but like everyone said, I'd watch that a little bit closer to the end. But I think that's going to be a hiding in Durban.
Excellent, gents. Thanks very much. It was great having you back on. Harry, welcome back to the States. And Oracle, always a pleasure to have you on as well. We'll certainly be in contact over the weekend. Thanks, lads.
Cheers, guys.
Stay on for a couple of minutes.
Cheers.
All right, Conductor, I've managed to get the departure time pushed out to 10:15, so we got a few minutes, but if I could ask you to skim through, I'll bring up the first game now, and that is Canterbury minus 10.5 against Auckland.
Yeah, Brenty, this is, I'll be very quick, but last weekend reminded me of a situation in World War II in the North Atlantic. The German U-boat captains called it the happy time. They were sinking so many Allied ships. They were having a whale of a time. For me, last weekend with points overs in the NPC was the same situation. That was my happy time. 5 out of 7 arrived very, very easily in the overs. The only game that didn't arrive is Otago at home, and they're notoriously unders team. And the Shield game for Hawke's Bay in Wellington, and had Brendan Pickerel on the ref. So that was definitely an unders game as well. So 5 of the 7 arrived, and hopefully we see the continuation overs. Just one thing I see, guys are trying to get too much over. Just remember, it is getting a bit warmer in New Zealand. There is a lot more dew on the ground, especially in the night games. We've seen that, especially on Wednesday in that Taranaki versus Counties game. It is getting warmer. It's getting much more dewy. It's getting much more slippery. So I'm not gonna look at points in this game. I really like Canterbury to absolutely melt Auckland here. Auckland haven't looked great. They looked incredibly lazy versus Tasman last week. Tasman, who are missing heaps and heaps of players. Canterbury looks so well drilled. Their systems are good. They look so well coached. The intensity is there. Auckland missing guys like Lenny Apasai, missing Angus Talvao, missing Jamie Lane, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is at the All Blacks. And obviously a big one for them is Don Sullivan. So I like Auckland to cover the minus 10.5. Auckland, Canterbury will go full ball here. They'll top the log. Then they can rest massive rotation against Otago next week, which I'm also lining up. I'll take Otago on the plus against Canterbury because Canterbury can rotate and rest for their playoff games.
Right, well, you got a bet in there for next week. Yeah, Bay of Plenty.
This is a very tough one. Bay of Plenty have been playing good rugby. They won me or us good money last week on that. That was my best bet against Southland. I see Caleb Trask wasn't training. He should be back either 10 or 15. Yeah, I mean, Bay of Plenty have been good, playing good rugby. Hawke's Bay lost the Shield last week. It's difficult to know what psychological condition they're going to be in, because that's a big loss, but they retained it for so many challenges. They did an outstanding job. It may either free them or crush them. I think it's going to free them a little bit. The weight is off their shoulders. They've lost the Shield. They don't have to defend it anymore. It's one less to worry about. So this game, it's a 3 p.m. kickoff for New Zealand. The line's 57.5. I'm taking overs here. This could be 60 points. It is a high line. You know, I don't like to tackle anything above 53, 54, but I'm going to tackle 57.5. I'm not too sure about the handicap, and that's why I'm going to go on the points rather.
On the overs, let's move on to Tasman.
Tasman, I really like the Tasman on the minus. I've seen minus 4.5 in places. That'll see a lot of my money. Northland started off like a house on fire, but have run out of gas. You know, unfortunately, with the smaller guys like Northland, like Southland, like Manawatu, I think limited squad depth does count badly against these guys. Tasman will definitely want to win this, and with a bonus point to try and push themselves up the ladder for a playoff spot. Northland might be missing Rivez Rehana, who limped off with a knee injury. And I don't know if they get back Tom Robinson. Obviously, Ofa Tuafangasi is at the All Blacks, so he won't be featuring for Northland. They came badly unstuck against North Harbour last week, and they just strike me as a team that's running out of gas. Just too many guys have been playing too much rugby, like Jonah Mathalai. He's been playing heaps. I mean, Rivers Rahana, I'm thinking he won't be there.
Right, Wellington game, sorry, conductor, I put you under so much pressure. You're doing brilliantly, but I've never never heard you talk so quickly. You know, I know you got a couple of beers in you as well, but keep it going, please. Wellington.
Sorry, Brent, if I'm talking too quickly, slow me down.
No, it's fine. No problem. Question.
Sorry, I'm trying to make you cut off time there. Okay, this is a tough one. Obviously, Wellington won the Shield last week, so this is now becomes a Shield defense in Wellington. I'm going to take Waikato on the board here. For me, Wellington played out their boots. Love Waikato, and I'll probably look at unders in this game as well. The weather has shifted. It was originally horrible, going to be horrible in Wellington. It's looking a slightly bit better. It's still going to be windy and rainy. But for me, this is a big chance for a far better Waikato side to take the Shield as well off Wellington a week later. So, yeah, I really like Waikato on the board there. Manawatu, Otago. This is a tough one. Otago hates scoring points, hate covering these lines. Manawatu has covered the last three handicaps they've covered. But Otago are desperate for a bonus point win to push themselves up the ladder. They had a good win last week against a very, very strong Waikato side, albeit it wasn't Dunedin. They traveled to Palmerston North to face Manawatu. Weather looks good. They are suffering without Thomas Umanga Jensen and Jonah Nareki, but you got to feel that with guys like Fabian Holland back, they're going to put their all into that minus. So I like Otago on the minus, and this game I like North Harbour on the minus. Taranaki in their storm week. Last week Saturday they played their strongest team against Manawatu. They played another strong team yesterday against Counties. I just kind of feel they're going to run out of legs against a very, very dangerous North Harbour team with guys like Sean Stevenson, Tavida Lee, and Mark Tillier. I just think that Taranaki have been very poor this season, and I think that Taranaki legs are going to run out. So I'm on the minus.
Shab, I hope your voice doesn't run out before we get to the last game. And Southland, I was just typing away there because I actually missed these games when I first looked at the betting earlier. So I think they probably because they're on Sunday. But Southland plus 8.5 Counties, the final game.
Yeah, Brady, I've been actually lining this up quite badly. I'm going to take Counties on the minus. Normally, I'd back Southland with much vigor because obviously Southland in Invercargill are another kind of force. For some other reason, I've never seen Invercargill weather so amazing as it's been over the past few weeks. Normally, we get like hurricane winds and pelting rain, and that's what Southland like to play in. But I actually wonder if Southland will be able to put out a competitive team in this game. They are just wrecked by injuries. They're having to play really substandard club players. Marty Banks has gone for the rest. Marty Banks won't be there. He's one of their key figures. Rory van Vugt is probably gone as well. He's also one of their key figures. So Counties rested a couple of guys yesterday against Taranaki, and they should cover that minus against Southern and Cargill. Best bets. Obviously, I love. So I'm going to preempt you there, Brent. I know you got to go. I'm going to. I like Connacht on the plus. I like overs in New Zealand, Australia. I like the over 50.5 in Eden Park. That feels a bit too low. I very much like Ulster on the minus 2.5, and probably a lesser strike on Munster minus.
Excellent. Conductor, I just want to say bloody well done. You raced through you didn't have a sip of beer for the entire NPC there. That was absolutely
my throat's killing me, brains.
No shame. We've come in. I mean, go. You deserve. Go and sit back now, relax, and have another quiet beer. Thanks a million. That was absolutely brilliant. Look forward to chatting to you tomorrow at 1:30 for the Gallagher Premiership. Cheers, Brent. All the best. Go well. Travel safe. Cheers, mate. Brilliant work. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, 1:30 for the Gallagher Premiership. Thanks a lot.